Cool. Hi everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this session. So we are going to be talking about the art of personal branding and why authenticity is key. So my name is Ifoma Nemaz. I'll get into a bit more of an introduction shortly. Um, let's go to the next slide. It's not working. This always happens when you're in tech, Okay, so in this session, we are going to cover the definition, what authentic branding is, and why it's important as well. Then I'm going to give you some key steps, practical steps, as to how you actually create an authentic brand. And at the end, I'll give you a small challenge as well. So, who I am. My name is Ifoma Nemad. I love all things innovation, creativity, and personal development. My superpower is that I'm a connector. I love connecting people. I love connecting things. I build that into the projects that I work in, the teams that I lead, the people that I interact with. And one of my core values is to make an impact. So I love when I'm contributing to something outside of myself, something that's bigger than myself. That brings me a lot of joy. So I try and make sure that I infuse as much of that into whether that's my job, whether that's what I do, whether that's the interactions that I have, I try and make sure that I pull that in. So I am also a 16-year young veteran of Cisco. I know I don't look like I've been there for that long. I lead development teams, I lead data science teams, and also an integrations governance team. And we tell the story of how Cisco has collaborated through the hybrid world, the new hybrid world that we live in. But Cisco's actually been doing hybrid for a really long time. We've been collaborating for a really long time. We just tell the story through data insights, through automation, and through integrated experiences. I'm also a huge advocate of just diversity, women in tech, young people in tech. I develop a lot of talent development programs, a lot of innovation programs as well. And outside of Cisco, I am the founder of the Prostate Cancer Black Men charity. I am also a qualified hypnotherapist. I'm a qualified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner and coach. I'm married to my best friend and my business partner, and I have 3 amazing children. So that's about me. What about you, if we get that? So, if you know the person sitting next to you, don't introduce yourself to the person sitting next to you. Turn around and introduce yourself in the next 30 seconds to someone that you don't know, please. Okay, we're gonna go. That was 30 seconds. Let's go. Let's go. You all seem to be enjoying yourselves, which is great. But we can connect afterwards. We're going to talk about networking as well, so we can connect afterwards. Hey. We're going to come back to the room. I love that everybody loves introducing themselves and networking. Before I actually go into this slide, who led with what they do? Yeah? And that's typically what we do. We lead with what we do, as opposed to leading with who we are. So that's why we're going to talk about authentic personal branding. So, first of all, why is it important? One, I'm going to go through the definition, but just outside of that, it gives you visibility outside of your immediate circle. The people that know you and love you and they've defined who you are already, it gives you visibility outside of that. I'll talk a little bit about this later on, but it almost gives you a superpower. We talk about networking, and networking to me is like having superpowers. I don't know which X-Man has that superpower. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't really find it. Being in one place, but actually you're in many places as well. So it's giving you that visibility of who you What do you bring to the room? What do you bring to the table? What are the unique things that you can actually bring to a team, bring to a project, bring to an organization? And it also allows you to be matched with the right opportunity. So sometimes you don't even know these opportunities exist. You don't even know these rooms exist. You don't even know that somebody is talking about you. But because they've seen the way that you operate, they've seen the way that you work, they've seen the way that you move, they've seen what your values are, and they are in rooms, they're having conversations, they know what's going on, and immediately you come to mind. And they know, hey, that's the right person for this role, and they will match you to that role. And it's not something that you can do by yourself. You can't do it alone, and that's why this is so important. It allows you to also influence using your own unique point of view. So everyone has something special. Everyone has something inside them that they bring that nobody else can bring. And it allows you to apply that unique view to a situation, to a project, to a team. And then lastly, it allows you to lead. And this is not just leading a team. This is thought leadership. This is technical leadership. This is leadership in your field. This is building your own following. Okay? So let's get into the definition. What is personal branding? Okay, it's not working again. I'm just going to stay here. Okay. So according to Jeff Bezos, branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. In short, it's your reputation. It's the way that you make people feel. It's the emotions that they give you when they interact with you, when they see you, when they see you operate. So what are some other definitions that we can see? So it's perception. It's the part of you that an individual has about you. And sometimes that's not the whole. Sometimes they only see a certain part of you. It's the view on the values and the qualities that you have, the beliefs that you have, and how you manifest these in the things that you do and the way that you do them. That's how people see you. So it's not really about what you say. It's what you do. That's what people see and that's what they perceive. Okay, so let's get into authenticity. So what is authenticity? So authenticity can be described as to be of undisputed origin or genuine, or something that is real, true, or what people say it is. So again, we're going back to perception. So it's not really, it's not really about you. It's how other people see how you present you. So how can we do this? How can we then be authentic? It's really about being original. And how do you be original? What does that mean? To me, that is your USP. That's your unique selling point. Who are you? What is unique about you? What is that fingerprint or that thing that is only you? And this is made up of your story, your experience, and your skills. So I was able to join some of the sessions this morning. They were powerful. Like, they were so interesting, understanding the stories that people have, the journeys that they've been through. And sometimes this isn't all good stuff. Sometimes it's the things that come far left that then they give you a different perspective. They're never things that you want to happen. They're never experiences that you want to go through, but they grow you in a way that you would never have imagined that you would grow. It creates a different way for you to be able to see things, a different perception. So that unique pulling together of your story, your experience, your skills is what is going to create what is unique for you. And what you can also do is also look at patterns. What have you done in the past? What things worked? What things didn't work so well? What things felt good? What things really sort of lit that fire in you? You start to identify patterns and you start to identify, what did I bring to this? What is unique about me? What do people say? We're going to talk about feedback as well. But what do people say? What kind of feedback am I getting? Okay, so we're going to go deeper into defining the more original you. How do you define you? So first we're going to start with core values. And core values can be defined as your compass. That's the thing that lets you know that you're doing something that's true to you. And it sounds like a very simple word, core values, but actually it's quite complex. There's two parts to it, and each of those are broken down. So your core values are split out by one, your core needs, and you have 6 core needs. And then it's also split out by your personal values. So your core needs, this is something that everyone has. We prioritize them differently, and we will put different ones in different spaces depending on where you are in life. So it could be that you want certainty. You want to avoid pain. You want to avoid the things that you don't want. You want to know what it is that's coming, and that's what you want, certainty. Or it could be you want uncertainty, you want change, you want variety, you want things to be, you like surprises. Everyone says they like surprises. They don't really like surprises because they're not all good. Or it could be significance. It could be that you want to be known for something. And some people think, oh, that's me being arrogant. It's not. It's not. It's a real need. It's a real thing for some people that they want to be identified as, I am this person. I'm seen as this person. It could be love and connection, so that you have the ability to be close to someone or something, and that you have that as your core thing, as your top thing. Or it could be that you want to grow. It could be growth. How do you expand your capacity? How do you make sure that you're constantly evolving? And then lastly, I think I've done all of them, is contribution. So this is how you affect people outside of you, or the environment outside of you. And then you have your personal values. So this is more questions. You have your core needs, and then your personal values. The personal values are the questions that you ask yourself about what's important to you. In your life, if you were to think about your life right now, what's important to you? What are the things that inspire you? What are the people that inspire you? What are the stories that inspire you? What puts you in a happy state? What puts you in a sad state? Understanding all of these things is your ability to define you. And a lot of us don't sit with ourselves long enough to define, who am I? You are defined by what you do, or you are defined maybe by what other people say you are, but you don't really know who you are. So in order to be able to present that, you have to do this work. And it takes a while. Like, this is not a one-day exercise. So you've got the core values. I won't this time. Then we've got strengths. So your strengths are the things that you're good at, but it's also the things that energize you. Typically, you just think, oh, I'm good at this thing. It's my strength. That's not true. You can be good at something and it's not a strength. So I'll give you the example of my brother. So when we were growing up, my brother's really smart, really great at maths. And my dad's an accountant. So the natural thing when he's going through work experience was being an accountant. He hated accountancy with a passion. He was really good at it, but he hated it. So that's an example of, you can be good at something, but it's a drainer. It's not actually a strength for you. He ended up going into engineering, so he gets excited by pylons and trains and things like that, and he's really good at that as well. And then passion. So these are the things that light you up. Doesn't have to be necessarily what you do as a job, but it's the things that you are passionate about, the things that light you up, the things that make an impact inside of you. And identifying all 3 of those, imagine having those as the things that you do. That's not work. That's not work, because if you're able to do something that aligns to something that is core for you, something that you are passionate about, something that energizes you, that's not work, that's enjoyment. That's enjoyment, and that's what you want to try and build into your work daily, into what you do daily. So even if you're working for a corporate, I know that we had some people downstairs. How many people are working for an organization at the moment? Okay, how many people are running their own business? Okay. In any of those situations, you want to make sure that you're identifying what those are and you're bringing those into whatever it is that you're doing. You need to be living a fulfilled life. And then lastly, I've got weaknesses. So the flip side of strengths, again, weaknesses are not necessarily things that you're not good at. You could be good at them, same situation with my brother, good at them, but it's a drainer. It's something that drains you. It does not energize you. So you want to try and minimize that. But again, it's important that you know what that is. You can't minimize what you don't know. Okay? And once you've got that, once you know what makes you tick, once you know what gives you that fire, that gives you that inspiration, you go out and look for it. You speak about it. It comes out as you speak, as you do what you do. And that's what creates the authenticity in your brand. If you operate in that space, it's hard for someone not to see it. They'll be able to see it without you even saying it. So that's why you want to be in that space, and then you want that inspiration. Okay. And then sort of your gold foundation here is consistency. People know what you do by how you do it. And you prove it by doing it over and over and over again. A good brand, is consistent. And that's why when you have brands in stores or things that you buy, people will regularly go back to the brand that they know, because they know what they're going to get. They already trust it. They already know what it is that's going to come from that. So consistency is key in how you, one, identify, but also make sure that you're showing up as that brand. But actually also internally is, how do you make sure that your brand's also evolving? How do you make sure that your brand is constantly growing? Okay, so we're going to get into some practical steps. Am I good for time still? Yeah? Okay, we're going to get into some practical steps for defining your personal brand. So there's a 6-step process, but what I've done is I've categorized it into 3 areas. So if you don't remember all of them, at least you've got the 3 areas that you can go away with. So what you need to do is to identify your X, Y, and Z factors. So your X factor, I've kind of talked about this already. This is your USP. This is your strength. This is if you think about the whole Simon Cowell, it's the thing that is you, that there is nobody else in the world that does this. There's nobody else in the world that brings this. It's who you are and the passion that you have, the things that you love, the things that energize you. Your Y factor is your why. That's your purpose. When you hear people talk about my purpose, that's the thing that is important to you. It's the reason that you do something. And I can't remember if I used this example already, but you see people that maybe make a lot of money. They're really, really rich, but they're really unhappy. And that's because they haven't defined what their why factor is. They haven't defined their why, or they're not playing to what it is that's really important. They're not playing to their true needs. And then you want to eliminate your Z factors. So once you've gone through all of that work of identifying, these are my strengths, this is what I bring to the table, this is my USP, these are my values, this is who I am, you can't sleep on that. You can't be afraid to then show that. You can't be afraid to then put that forward, to put yourself in the right situations. So we want to look at then, what are the things that you can do to then eliminate those Z factors? Okay, so let's get into the 6 steps. So we've kind of talked around the discovery area. Who are you? What are your core values? What are your likes, your energizers, your strengths, your weaknesses? So this is your step 1, that discovery phase. Again, I always feel like these boxes, it doesn't really give the full scale of how deep this work is. This is not work that you can just do in a day, in a week, sometimes in 2 weeks. I do this quarterly, so I will make sure that I go through this and I align to what it is that I'm doing. In my role is vast. I do enjoy my role. I get to work with creative people. I get to work with smart people, but I have stuff also outside of Cisco, but I bring that in as well. I love diversity, so I'll bring in the talent development programs. My charity, Cisco has supported with my charity, so I try and make sure that I build in as much of the things that energize me, the things that I love, and I bring them into my role. And I think that's why I've been at Cisco for as long as I've been at Cisco, because they allow you to do that, but you have to define what that is first before you can then put that forward. Next, we need to validate it. I think I talked about this a little bit before, but you need to understand, how do people actually see you? You have this view of who you are, but how are people perceiving that? How do people really look at you? How do they hear the way you talk? How do they see the things you do? How do they identify what is this person's values and how can I apply them to another area? Next, we're going to visualize. And again, I feel like this box is just not big enough to really compound just how big this area is. Visualization is a huge step. And I don't just mean visualizing, oh, I can see myself, or I'm so happy and grateful that I have X, Y, and Z. It's not about that. I mean, really visualize. You need to pick a time. Where are you in the next 5 years, 3 years, 1 year? Where are you? Pick a space. See through your own eyes. What can you see? What can you feel? What can you hear? What is around you? Like, really feel it. There's a few studies actually, there's quite a lot of studies around visualization, just showing the power of the mind. This one specifically was around sports people. So they had a group of sports people visualize, I think they were lifting weights, and a group of people actually then lift weights. And the results for both were comparable. The power of the brain is amazing. So look at who do you want to be? How do you want to be seen? And visualize that. Next, you need to network. So we talked about superpowers. Now you've visualized it and your brain now knows this is something that's real. You need to go out and validate it. What does that actually look like? You say you want this role, but do you know what that role looks like? Do you have the vocabulary to speak in that role? You need to be proximate with the people that are in those roles, in those spaces, to be able to actually achieve that. So we've talked about proximity, get stretch assignments, get a mentor. If you don't have a mentor is someone that's in that space already. They've got that experience. Get a coach. A coach is going to draw out the right things from you. They will ask the right questions and they will draw out the right things from you. And then a sponsor, that's the person that's going to speak for you in those rooms. And like I said, sometimes you don't even know that you've got a sponsor. Someone's seen you move and you don't even know it. In the 16 years that I've been at Cisco, all of my roles, every single one of the roles that I've had, and you can go check on LinkedIn, all the various different roles that I've had, have all been through my network. A sponsor has spoken for me. Someone has said something in a room. Every single one of those has been through my network. And then a CEO. So I'm just going to say, CEO is not your traditional CEO. That is your Chief Encouragement Officer Board. That is such an important thing to have. I've got some of my CEOs in the room today, but they're the people that when you don't have the belief in yourself, when you think, I don't think I'm ready to do this, then they're the people that are going to encourage you. They're the people that are going to remind you, this is what I see in you. This is what you have in you. And you need that reminder. And then next, you're going to be in a position. So you are going to be placed then in positions. You're going to be in spaces and you need to make sure that your voice is heard, that you're putting your hand up, that you're saying yes. And then lastly, tied to our Z factor, you are going to take a bold step. We are not going to sleep on our skills. We are not going to rest on, I've just discovered this, but hey, I'm going to hide it and I'm not going to show it to the world. You're not going to do that. So we're going to make sure, and this is steps, but we're going back. We're constantly going back. You go back to your CEO board. You go back to your mentors. You go back to your sponsors. You go back to discovery. Who are you? So you make sure that you take that bold step. Okay, so just to quickly summarize, I know that I'm running out of time. Know you first, before other people can know you, before other people can know the authentic you, know you first. And that's through your X, Y, and Z factors. Look at what others see, get feedback, understand how you're perceived. Consistency is what's going to hammer that home. That's what people are going to remember. When you are consistent, that's what they're going to see. And then also the power of your network. Make sure you are networking. Make sure you're talking to people. I'm an introvert, so I have to figure out the right way to network for myself. I can work rooms, it's a little bit draining sometimes, but I build relationships one-to-one. That's my thing. I will talk to someone one-to-one. I will find out about them and build that relationship one-to-one. So find out what works for you. Okay, so quickly, your challenge. It's tied to that last step. I need you to take a bold step. I want everybody over the next month to take a bold step. You can use me as your accountability partner. I'll put a hashtag on there. You can access my LinkedIn as well. Tell me today, tomorrow, maybe today preferably, what your bold step is. And I will make sure at the end of this month, I will search on that hashtag, or if you've tagged me, I will come back to every single one of you and check how you've done with your bold step. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time.
Wow, thank you so much. That was amazing. I thought we could open up the floor to some questions. So please do put your hand up and then I'll carry the microphone over to you. Any questions? Yep, at the back. I'm coming.
I'm going to do my hashtag bold step because technically I don't have annual leave. It's recording, it doesn't matter. Hi, my name is Lucy Masenge. I'm a personal branding consultant and I do content creation, and I work with people who are in industry and just want to itch the scratch and scream, share, whatever it is, how you want to create. I help you manage that process. So my name is Lucy Masenge. This is my hashtag bold step. Contact me if you need a personal branding consultant. You don't need to do it alone.
Thank you. Any other questions for if anyone? No hands?
I think that's
Yes, go.
Hi, Fama. Thank you so much for such a wonderful, wonderful panel and session. I really enjoyed it. But I want to ask you, how do we go about finding sponsors? And I know you said that sometimes you don't even know you have sponsors, but in that sense, what can I do to make sure that wherever I go, whoever talks about me is my sponsor, even if they don't know they're sponsoring for me?
I love that question. We were actually just having that conversation this week. So yes, sometimes you don't know that you have a sponsor, but actually you can also be intentional about getting your sponsors. So in all of that networking that you're doing, your mentors, your coaches, all of them can turn into sponsors as well. But what you can do, practical step, is to actually say what you want. If you're looking for a role, or if you're interested in something, vocalize it, because they're not going to know unless you say it. And once you say it, it's then top of mind for them. Then an opportunity comes up and they realize, hey, actually, I remember you said it, and then they come back to you. So again, that's been quite difficult for me sometimes. And I think as women, sometimes we're a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I should say it or not. But you have to be able to say it. And when you build those relationships, it does help. It makes it a little bit easier. Being able to vocalize, hey, actually, I'm looking for a new role. I've been in this space for a little while. These are the things that I do. These are the things that are important to me. This is what I bring. They got that top of mind. So as soon as an opportunity comes up, and you tell everyone. I don't do too much social media, but as you talk to people, you kind of make sure that comes out, and then you find you're planting seeds, and then these sponsors then go off, and then you get people come back to you. You're welcome.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes?
From a fantastic session. And you couldn't get away with the session without me asking the question. I know you touched on it very briefly because obviously you've only got a short space of time to go through it all. But you talked about validation. So obviously you go out, you begin to understand yourself and what you're about, and then you validate that with people. Can you just expand on what you mean by validation, or how you go about validating what you've learned about yourself with other people?
That's a good question. Thank you. So by validation, firstly, you want to understand how you're perceived. So how do people see me? When you think about me, what do you see? What am I good at? Typically what I do with my team is I will ask them, well, what should I start doing? What should I stop doing? What should I continue doing? And that allows me to kind of see how they're perceiving the things that I do. And sometimes there might be things that I'm doing that I feel, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that. I didn't even know that I was doing that. And sometimes, it might be, I won't say good, bad, it just is. Maybe that's not how I want to be perceived. But I feel that it's more powerful when you go out and you ask for feedback. You directly say, hey, Like, what do you think of when when you think of me? What would you say are my strengths? Like, actually ask the question. I think sometimes we think here and we think, oh, I can't ask that. But actually, you get the best answer when you do ask it. So ask, what are my strengths? What do you see as my strengths? And also make sure that you're asking in the right spaces, because sometimes if you work in a specific space and you ask them for feedback, they're going to give you feedback about that specific space. So you need to broaden it out. Like, what are the different people that you work with? What are the different people that maybe have experienced you? And maybe sometimes not even someone that's worked with you for that long. Maybe, you've still got a good relationship, but being able to then elicit that, what are the first things that they see when they see me? And by validation, I then mean going back and looking at, well, what is the core thing in me that I actually want to be shown? And am I doing that? Is it being perceived? So I think that would be my recommendation. That's what I do in terms of looking for feedback and just helping to validate, and then you can change. Did I give the example of Beyonce? I don't think I did. Who knows who Sasha Fierce is? Okay. So Sasha Fierce is Beyonce. That's her persona. That's her that's her alter ego. But she chooses to show that to who really knows Beyonce. Maybe we don't, but that's what she chooses to show. And then she gets feedback based on, how my sales doing. I'm still selling out, after how many years? People are, I'm not going to pay rent, but I'm going to go to Beyonce's concert. So it's things like that you validate, okay, this is working for me, but sometimes you have to be explicit and ask. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Faith. I'm a
Hi,
coach.
Faith.
I loved your session.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you wear different hats, right? You founder of a charity, working corporate. How do you make sure that your brand is consistent and authentic across different stakeholders and different areas that you work in?
I think someone said in the session earlier today, can't remember who it was, I'm not the greatest with names. I lead from the heart. When you don't lead from the heart, it makes it very difficult to stay consistent and to stay doing the things that you're doing. So I will regularly check in with myself. Is this me? Like, is this playing to the things that are my strengths? Is this playing to the things that are energizing for me? And sometimes some things start that way. I'm a starter, so I'm a bit of a butterfly. I like start things. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then it gets to operations. I'm like, I don't want to be there anymore. I'm going to go over that way. But it's constantly checking in with myself. And to me, that is how I make sure that my brand is consistent. It comes from somewhere different. Like with the charity, that's actually a very difficult thing for me to run. But I run it because it comes from a personal place. My dad died of prostate cancer. So for me, it's like, well, if I knew the things that I know now, 10 years ago, he would still be here. What do I do to make sure that other people are not in that same space? So as difficult as it is, sometimes I have conversations and there's lots of new treatments and things coming out. And sometimes being very vulnerable and honest right now, I will think, why wasn't this around? When my dad was there, it's very painful. But when I go back and I have my little moment, I come back, then I know actually I'm making a difference. There's men then that will come back and say, hey, they found prostate cancer, but they caught it early. That alone is, and that's not even me. To me, that's not me. That's my dad's and his, that's the continuation of his legacy. But again, I continue to do the things that I do and I build that brand because I try and always make sure that I lead from the heart. And it's that knowing you. When you know you, it makes it so easy to be consistent because you're coming from you. You're not trying to be someone else. You're not trying to be something else. And I remember growing up as a teenager, teenager is a hard man. As a teenager, I'm trying to discover who am I? And you see people and you respect them or you admire them. You're like, oh, I want to be like that person. And it's things like that. I find so interesting. And now I have children, I have 3 children, so it's trying to get them to sort of ask those questions and to discover for themselves what do they like. what do they enjoy? Who are they? And how can they make sure that they're living in that space? So, short answer would be lead from the heart.
Thank you very much. One more question?
Okay, sorry.
We got time for one more question.
Hi, I have a microphone. It's back here, sorry. Hi, I have a question. With the sound person, so I can get a
Sound
microphone.
person privileges.
Hello, just one question. I wanted to know, how do you honor your integrity in your personal branding when you're approached by either another creative company or a corporate company that you would ideally express your authentic expression in, but at the same time you end up changing their narrative by bringing your own, but because you're under their sort of under their name, you don't really get to have your expression or your branding credited. So like, how do you sort of maintain your integrity and accreditation when you collaborate with other people or other companies?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. I think firstly, you want to make sure that you're communicating that that's something that's important to you, and there should be the credit there as well when you're collaborating with another company, that this is in collaboration with yourself. The other thing that I would suggest is like other avenues as well. LinkedIn is amazing for showcasing work, and I'm not a creative, so I'm sure there's other creative platforms. But where you have developed work and you've partnered with someone or you've collaborated with someone, sometimes they are going to put it under their brand. And again, like I said, the communication is going to be helpful if that is something that's really important to you, that, hey, I want to try and make sure there's something of me that shows this is me on here. So I would advise having that conversation. And if they've sought you out, then it means that they see something in you in terms of how you can contribute and how you can also help their brand. But really, you want to try and make it as much as possible two-way. But outside of that, you also take action. So life doesn't happen to you. Yeah? So you take action. If you're doing that work, share it. Shout it from the rooftops. Put it on your business card, put it on LinkedIn, put it on Instagram. Hey, I'm working with X company. Make it work the other way, because they might have the reach maybe that you don't have. So you've got the brand, you've got the creativity, and they have the reach. So flip it the other way. Hey, I'm working with this company. This is what I created. And then you're opening other doors and you're opening other avenues. So sometimes we have to look at what are the different ways that I can get to what I want. Really, in that, you're thinking about your why. Why do you want to be credited? Is it that you want significance? Is it that you want people to know this is what you do? So if that's the case, sometimes we have to look at different routes. If you think about driving to somewhere, a road might be closed, you find another road to get there. So it's being flexible and looking at what's the thing that I want, and then what are the different ways that I can use to do that? Because they could well come back and say, hey, no, we can't put your name on it, but that's not going to stop you from sharing, hey, this is work that I've done with this company. Hope that helps. Yeah.